we got to figure out what's going on, all right? Because the world, at least America, been flipped upside down right now because there's a crazy case going on, and there's a missing person. There's a missing person. We got to try to find out, maybe find out what happened, okay? Luco, your boy, has gotten some information. And it's actually interesting because it's actually really interesting because I'd like to see when they were in Colorado and Utah because your boy was on the road after their leaving point. They left July 2nd. All right, let's get into it. Let's get right into it. There's a girl, Gabby Petito. She is missing as of right now. I'm recording this. It is Saturday, September 18th, okay? Saturday morning, watching some football. How you doing? College football season. So there's a missing girl, Gabby Petito. She drove across the country with her boyfriend, fiance technically, fiance at the time. And they left from New York on July 2nd. And they were last seen, I don't have my cell phone on me where it's all the information. They were last seen, I believe, the end of August. I believe it was like August 24th or something around there, where they were seen in Yellowstone, I believe, leaving Grand Teton. They were in Grand Teton, which is in Wyoming. Yellowstone, I believe they were in the Wyoming part. And now the girl is missing, and the boyfriend came home to his Florida home because they left from New York. I believe the girlfriend lives in New York, or her family lives in New York. That's what I'm assuming. And the boyfriend's family lives in Florida. So fiance, right? The boyfriend's family lives in Florida. So he came home with the van that they were driving, which I think is in her name. That's what the story tends to point out, that he drove her van to his house. Who knows how much of it was hers? Who knows how much of this story is true? Because like I listen to the mainstream, just what the TV news will say, and then you actually read articles, and it's like, dude, the TV news is like, come on, guys, like this is horrible journalism. But that's beside the fact. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But so the boyfriend came home and was basically like silent. Was basically didn't say anything, and then the Gabby Petito's mom was like, bro, where's my daughter? Like, he came home with the van. Like, where's my daughter? And I guess like he wasn't answering. He didn't want to answer any questions. She called the police, and as of now, Gabby Petito is still missing. Okay, still missing. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this case, and there's a lot of weird stuff in this case that, let's just say, I don't have a Twitter. I quit Twitter about probably almost 3 years now. 3 years ago. It's so toxic. Everything on, dude, like, you do get some information and some very fast updates. Like, if you're on Twitter, you can get certain updates very quickly. But, dude, most of the information is just like, it's like telephone. It's like really not true information. And people are just upset and yelling at each other and lying. It's like, it's not a good place to get like sources of information. It's really not. It's really not. And other than that, it brings me no joy. So Twitter is just, it's very negative. Twitter brings me, it's like, Jesus, Twitter, relax. But, God, I don't even know where I was going with this. But as of right now, she's missing. Right? She's missing. There's a lot of things, like I was saying, on social media. Everyone is like jumping to conclusions. They're protesting outside of his family's house right now. And as of, I'll give you this, right? You're following me along? As of this morning / last night, they have announced that the boyfriend has left the house, is in hiding, is missing, quote unquote, possibly missing or just hiding. I don't know if his family knows where he is and is just distraught by the whole situation. Let's just say this: I highly doubt his mother and his father are in part trying to help him murder this young girl that was his fiance. I doubt that's the case. Some of these people start jumping to these crazy, the whole family knows what happened, get them. It's like, gee, okay, hold on. They were a fiance. They're a grown couple. They're driving across the country by themselves. Their family's not with them. All right, let's relax. Of course, I think the family is probably staying silent. I think everybody that is involved, police included, knows something more than they are saying. That's what I tend to believe at this moment in time. So let's follow the story. Let's backtrack. Whoop. I'd like to know when they reached, because they took I think they just rode that one highway all the way down. I'd have to look at my road atlas, but they basically just took one road all the way across the country. When I drove across the country, I took a different route because I went down to Virginia and Shenandoah, and I have a friend that lives in Tennessee. So I went down to Tennessee, and they did not go down to Tennessee. I believe they were, I don't know exactly. I believe they went through Kentucky, like that part of, they went through Pennsylvania, and then I believe it was probably, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably some form of West Virginia, maybe even Ohio, but Kentucky, I believe they ended up. And then they went through Kansas. They were in a almost central northern Kansas. They went straight through Kansas, that one highway, and then they ended up in Colorado from there. So the highway that they took in Colorado, in my instance, was a little bit farther north, maybe even a few hundred miles farther north than where I entered Colorado. I entered Colorado when I was driving across the country this summer. Only a few weeks ago, they were on the road at the same time as me, which is very, crazy to me. But they were really spending a lot of time out there. But I went through southern Kansas, I guess you could say. I went through southwestern Kansas from the Oklahoma side. I came from south. They were coming up from north. I'll put the map in the video so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But they went through Colorado there, and then from Colorado they went to Utah. And this is where things get a little tricky. I'll say it again. This is where things get a little tricky. All right, a little fishy out here. Utah. I have a lot of good memories in Utah, but it's getting crazy. It's getting hectic out in Utah. And I guess I must have been gone by the time this was happening. They must have really took their time and slowly got to Utah, because I was already there and back by the time I think they even got to Utah, quite frankly. So that being said, there were two women. I believe they were a lesbian couple. And I don't know, this is where the story gets a little botched because different stories and different places are kind of sharing different information. I believe they were working at a convenience store, and the couple, so Gabby Petito and her fiance, were arguing and kind of fighting with each other. And I believe the convenience store couple called the police on Gabby Petito and her fiance because they were fighting and being disruptive or something like that. So then I think that's how the story goes, because that's like the newer information that I'm getting. See, it could be wrong though. Like, people might be commenting like, "You don't even know what you're talking about." It's like it's changing all the time, dude. Because when I first read the story, I thought it gets crazy because the couple that called the police on them, apparently at the convenience store, they ended up getting found shot dead camping. I believe they were in Red Rocks campground in Utah. I think I was listening to something about Red Rocks, Utah. I guess that's a national forest or maybe a campground or maybe like a small state park or something like that. Not quite sure, but they were camping there and their bodies were found. And for a while after Gabby Petito went missing, I think the whole idea was they were in questioning for that murder. Okay, now today, I read this morning that it is believed that they no longer are people of interest in the murder of that couple, the two women that were camping. But it is interesting because I believe those two women called the police on Gabby and her boyfriend or fiance when they were arguing at the convenience store. Okay? And then this is again where the story gets confusing because you hear from multiple sources. I don't know if the cops then pulled them over from the police call of the convenience store, or I also heard, see, this is where it gets botched. Like, it's like telephone. You don't know what's going on. And I also heard people that were driving down the road saw that she was beating up her boyfriend and like hitting him with the phone, trying to crash the van. Right? She was trying to crash the van while he was driving it. Okay? And then the police pulled them over, and then that's where that police body cam footage comes up where she's crying and he's kind of they're both acting weird, but that's where the body cam footage pulls up. And he's bleeding because she was hitting him and I guess trying to crash the vehicle. But that's where the part of the story gets a little confusing for me personally, because I don't know if the couple, like the lesbian couple that were they working at the convenience store, saw them fighting, called the police. The police followed the van that was described, pulled them over, and they were physically attacking each other basically right before they were pulled over. Is that the story, or did someone else drive by? Did two people call the cops on them? That's where it's starting to get a little like it's getting weird. But that's why like social media, it's like who knows what's going on? We don't even know. You got these people living in like across the country, living in New York, like, bro, I know what happened, son. It's like, bro, it's so easy, bro. It's fucking so obvious. It's like, bro, it's not that. And most people don't even know that they were trying to be questioned for a double homicide. People don't even know that these two girls got killed while they were camping. People don't even know that. So that's a part of the story that I think some people might know if you're really looking into it, but the mainstream media is kind of like not really explaining all that well. And they might not have anything to do. They might have not killed these people. They might have not killed these girls. And there's some people that believe that the boyfriend killed all three of them. He killed all three of them. So then they make their way after that. I believe after they got pulled over, because dude, I probably should have done a little bit more fucking research before I started talking about this. But it's all right. We're going to wing it. I wish I had my phone on me. But again, like I said, it's all botched up. And I think they got pulled over in Utah. Maybe they got pulled over in Wyoming, but I think they got pulled over in Utah. And then their last known location was in Wyoming. And then it gets weird because I saw this one TikTok, and this girl has talked to the police. It's kind of gotten famous. It's been covered by the news, and I know, fake news, but whatever. This girl came out on TikTok and she talked to the police, and she said that in Yellowstone, the fiance, the bald guy, Brian, I think his name's Brian, was, I guess, hitchhiking, and they picked him up and gave him a ride just 10 miles down the road to, I guess, like a little town or a place in Yellowstone I guess it was in the national park. And they said that he offered them $200 for a 10-mile drive down the road, which is really only like 20, 30 minutes in the national park. Sometimes it could be longer, you never know. But usually, like, it's not that far of a ride, especially if they're going in the same direction. So that's a little suspicious, offering that amount of money. That's quite a lot of money. Like, $200 is quite a lot of money for a 10-mile drive that people are going in that direction anyways. And also, like, and then people are questioning the body cam footage, and like this is when it's so funny. Everyone and their mom is now a psychiatrist. Oh, like now you know everything about psychology and the human body and body language and how people react to emotional responses and stuff. Like, oh, now you're an expert. It's like you're not. It's like you're a third grade teacher just tweeting. It's like, please stop. Please get your lessons plans ready. It's Sunday night. You got a big class full of 12 students because COVID is 1-to-3 ratio online and in person. Come on now. Luke, relax. It's like, all right. Backtracking. So, where are we? So they gave him a ride. So that's weird. And then he came home. I don't know. I guess they gave him a ride to his minivan. But the police, all right, let's talk about the police body cam footage, right? So like I said, everyone thinks they're all psychiatrists and thinks they're an expert. So you're probably not. If you want my honest opinion, I am a average Joe. I am talking about this on a podcast. I obviously explained it enough to the point where you're probably like, this kid doesn't really know what he's talking about. And it's like, that's fine. I know a little bit. I know a little bit of nothing. Okay, it's what it is. What are you gonna do? We're all just freaking humans. I can't help myself. But it is interesting though, and it is interesting. And for me, I find it like I mean very interesting because I just drove across the country and I was like very close to them to a certain extent at certain points on the trip. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool to a certain extent. But it's just so interesting. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. So now